catch up with whatever we are doing in the classroom. I'm sharing my screen with all of you. Okay, so I'll share the entire screen instead of one screen. All right, so there you go. Okay, all right. So we did question number one yesterday. Welcome everyone. And today we'll be doing question number two of paper 1123, paper one, which is reading paper. Okay, so these techniques will help you to answer question number two as it is in the paper. Because for question number two, most of the students they lose marks in question number two, by the way. All right, and reason is quite primary. The primary reason is that students are unable to understand implicit meanings of the questions. What are implicit meanings? Can anyone tell me? What are implicit meanings? Implicit. What are implicit meanings or what are implicit questions? What does the word implicit mean? Yes, Ibrahim Nadir.
Yes, sir.
What does the word implicit mean?
Uh, Sir, the meaning we get after reading the text.
Okay, implicit is to do with reading between the lines. All right. Okay, or and then
Is
as
it
a result
correct?
of reading between the lines, you infer the details. Infer the details, and then you assume on the basis of you assume either you assume, deduce, all right, assume.
So my answer is correct, right?
Yes, to some extent. Assume,
Thank you.
deduce information. Okay. So that what implicit. So this is your reading skill called R2 in the paper. R2. All right. So this entire question is based on question number two is based on R2, which is implicit questions, right? So in these questions, your 2A in paper 1123 will always be what effect does the writer suggest? Okay, and they'll give you an extract from the paper from the text insert, and then from that extracted line you have to suggest what is happening at this moment in the text. All right, so it says ice crystals cracked and crunched against my teeth, dissolving on my tongue with a sparkling sensation. Okay, so ice crystal cracked and crushed against my teeth, dissolving on my tongue with a sparkling sensation. So, question is, what does the writer want suggest? Okay, what does the writer suggest? Using what does the writer suggest about the sensation of crystal dissolving in his tongue by using the word sparkling to describe it? Okay, what does the word sparkling mean in general? Sparkle is also a toothpaste. You might have heard that. All right. People say, oh, you have a sparkling teeth. All right. But in this case, sparkling is used in a different context. Can anyone tell me? I have a message in the chat window. Let me see what is that message. Or just how are you message. All right. So let me just, who is here? Yes, Hassan. What does the word sparkling mean? Yes. Tomorrow's class face to face? No, tomorrow is no class. Face to face is online from 10 till 12. Okay, because academy is closed tomorrow. All right. So, so what does the word sparkling describe over here? Okay, so he says the answer is that they were bit sharp and pricky and tingled with his tongue like fireworks and soda tickling sensation. All right. So, yes, sir, it means it had a crackling feeling on the writer's tongue. Okay, it made him feel felt amazing or effect. You have to talk about effect, Hassan. What effect the
So
word
what's your meeting
sparkling?
password?
What does the word sparkling create? Yes, Ibrahim, what are you saying?
So what's your meeting password?
I'm sorry, what?
What's your meeting password?
Meeting password? I don't know. I usually share this
Because I have to
meeting
join
link and
from my
everyone
laptop.
gets that there. I haven't set any password for it. It's
Okay, let me.
open. Okay. You just need to click on the link and then join it. And then I have to accept people from the lobby. Now, the candidate response, a sparkling stir, suggests a tingling and tickling sensation is correct. Only one mark is scored since these words describe similar effect. Further attempts at the effect are incorrect, sharp and prickly. Okay, so suggest discomfort and the firework. Comparison lacks precision. So it is a 2 mark question, and then you have to talk about two different effects that they are creating on, you know, creating that are creating effect. Okay, so the first one is okay, so the first one is sparkling. It's obviously creating a tingled effect or tickling effect. Okay, so what could be the second effect that is being created over there? Question two is based also on R4 skills, right? So it's right here. I'm so sorry. Yes. So someone earlier told me in the chat also, I guess it was Anish. He said he felt amazed. It was exciting experience. All right, he enjoyed it. I can see that message in the chat window. So it means it had a crackling feeling in writer's tongue. It was shared by Hassan, and then he said he felt amazed. It was an amazing that was shared by Anish, right? So you can see these are the answers that are written over here very clearly. So any of two responses, he will end up getting you 2 marks, right? Two responses. So first thing is tickling or tingling effect, okay, or explosion. And the second thing is he felt surprised. He enjoyed it, or it was an enjoyable experience for him. So writing two effects will give you 2 marks. Okay, now let's move towards the next question. The next question says, so the next question says, read this extract from the text and tell what does the writer want to suggest to the reader at this point in the story. But once I had got over the initial strangeness, I found I could not forget that extraordinary flavor, nor the cold, frozen grittiness. It was as if the ice itself was enticing, daring me on from then on without Ahmed knowing. I tasted every confection we made. Alright, so what does the writer want to suggest to the reader at this point of the story? Okay, it's a 1 mark question, and you read this. In order to understand this question, you have to read the entire text thoroughly. Okay, you have to read the entire text story thoroughly. Okay, so the point is, whenever you have a question like this, what does writer want to suggest at this point of story? You have to go back to the extract that is given there. Now we can clearly see there are words which shows that he's excited to do it. He's trying to experiment things around. Okay, and okay, let me read that few things from the chat window. I guess I have few messages there. All right, I mean correction. So we can do this much cutting on the out paper. Yes, you can do that. And you can see this only once. Do not do lots of scribbling. All right. This has been scribbled a lot. Just one strike through line, and that's the answer. That will serve the purpose. You don't need to doodle a lot to create a bolt on your paper. All right. So you can simply, cross strike through it once. What does the writer want to suggest to reader at this point of the story? Who can answer this question? There are multiple responses to this question, by the way. All right. Look at the text, what is it saying? But once I had got over the initial strangeness, I found I could not forget the extraordinary flavor. Note the cold, frozen grittiness. It was as if the ice itself was enticing. Ice was enticing me, exciting, cheering me on, pushing me on, motivating me on again and again, that without Ahmad knowing, all right, and without the bringing it to the notice of Ahmad, I tasted every ice confection. Confection means sweet dish we made. All right, now he has tasted every kind of sweet dish that he has made. Now he is becoming more daring. All right, so that they do not know if the writer is going to get caught going behind the back of Ahmed trying flavors, or if he will come up with something new. Okay, now let's look at the examiner comment. What is examiner saying here? Okay, so the candidate answer demonstrate understanding the writer's behavior is risky since he could get caught. So he's been given 1 out of 1 mark here. All right. Whereas a marking scheme is also suggesting some similar something like this. So we'll look at the marking scheme here for question number 2B. So 2B is turning point, change in his relationship. He's going on his own, becoming bold. He's becoming curious, bold, daring, like I told you earlier. All right. And he's becoming obsessed with the taste of the ice, or he's going to be in trouble if Ahmed comes to know that he's there. Any one response like this will end up getting you 1 mark over here. So 2B is usually 2A or 2B can either be what does the writer want to suggest to the reader at this point of the story. So usually the very generic answer is a turning point, but it's better to read the extract and then try to understand it. Try to write your reflection, your review, your understanding of the text over here. Okay? Now, let's look at 2C. Explain why the writer used the word creature rather than boy in the expression a creature incapable of reason. Okay? So, is Ali here? Ali is he Azim? Okay. Ali Azim is not here today. All right. So Hassan, remember yesterday we were talking about, the relation between Ahmad and with the writer and his master Ahmad. So they were not on a cordial relation. They were not on a friendly relation. Ahmad has always thought his subordinate, who's the writer, inferior. Okay. So when you call someone creature, all right, rather than boy, say like creature, you're a creature incapable of a reason. So it means you are actually calling someone else inferior, all right? Dump. Okay, you're calling other that you do not have a brain that you can understand these things. So that is quite offensive. So this is what exactly the answer is going to be. Ahmed did not see him as a human or value him enough. Just thought if the writer is as dumb as a dumb animal, and that has no comparison with him, with Ahmad. All right. So he considered him inferior. That's why he called him creature. All right. So this is the answer. Okay. Degrading someone. That's right. A good Hassan. I'm glad Hassan is participating. Rest of you should also participate. This is the most tricky question, question number two, where you all end up losing lots of marks. And it is to do with our fourth skill, which is called how do writers use language to create effect. So it requires thorough understanding. And the questions of question two, particularly, will be parts of question two will always be set in the same manner. Every question will have the same thing. Like for question C, they'll ask you explain why the writer uses this word instead of the other word. Remember, we did an exercise related to it a few days back when I gave you few example sentences and I asked you, why do you think the writer has used the word teeming instead of full? That butterflies were teeming in the garden. All right. And similarly, why the writer has used the word, you know, too much instead of the most torturing instead of using the torture only. Okay, the most terrible or instead of terrible only. So these are the things that you need to keep in mind that these questions needs to be attempted the way they are there. And you need to understand the technique for each question. Okay. So I'm just opening the same file, marking, writing, word analysis, word choice analysis. You should look through the notes that I have given you. Okay. So look at this one. Like, see, the furious crowd stormed out of the stadium when the game was cancelled. Why has the writer used the word stormed instead of walked? So, storm refers to aggravated, angry reaction of the crowd, resulting to create abrupt chaos. So, similarly, you have a question in the paper. Where is it? All right. So, here it is. See, there we go. All right. So C, question 2C, they will always be related to word choice analysis. They will ask you why the writer has used this word instead of the other one. Okay, so if you're unable to understand the technique to answer question two, you all will be able to get the. All right, I'll share that in the group. Don't worry. Yes, I will share it. Hassan, candidate response. Okay. So now let's go to question 2D. He says, what two impressions does the writer want to convey to the reader in the sentence? Impression. The first thing first, we need to understand what does the word impression mean. Can anyone tell me what does the word impression mean? Please unmute your mic. I feel like I'm talking to my screen only. One of you have to unmute mic. Mariam, what does the word impression mean to you? Mariam? Or maybe Fatma can answer. What does the word impression mean to you?
So what's the question?
Look at that. What two impressions does the writer want to convey to the reader in the sentence? So what is the meaning of word impression?
What they want the reader to think?
Okay. All right. What did want reader think? Okay. All right. Okay. Impression is what? It's written there. Okay. How are defined? Okay. Good. How are we defined? Okay. So, impression is when you read something, what comes to your mind? What is being created through the words in your mind? Okay. For example, if you look at this one, and so I learned the subtle art of more complex water ices. Okay. So I learned the subtle art. It's subtle, be silent here. So I learned the subtle art of more complex water ices, sorbety, in which the syrups themselves were frozen, transforming magically to mounds of glittering crystals, and sherbets, the most difficult and enchanting of all, expertly infused with fragrant cardamom and resembling refrozen snow. Okay, So, what two impressions the writer wants to convey to us? And so I learned the subtle art of more complex water ices. The first thing is written by the candidate says the writer was learning more and more about the beauty of complex water ices, and he was most amazed by how expertly everything has um, made wire wise more most careful detail. Okay, so let's see what the examiner says about it. This is 2 mark. So you have to look at the two impressions that are being created there. Okay, so the candidate provides two correct impressions, recognizing that the vocabulary in the context suggests the beauty of ice, that they are made with most careful detail. Evident in detail the description of this construction, each correct impression is awarded 1 mark. So it was very, very easy to understand this question. It's only about that what image do you get after reading it, or what message is clearly given to you after reading the extract. Okay, so I learned the subtle art of more complex water ices. So the writer was learning more and more about the beauty of complex water ices and how carefully they are being made. These are the only two impressions that are portrayed over there. Okay. Now let's look at the question number. Oh no. Are we done with this one? Let me just zoom it. All right. If you have any question till now, you're more than welcome to ask. Question 2 in 1123 paper is of 9 marks altogether. All right. So tomorrow I'm planning to have exclusive class with the 0500 students only. Okay. So
But your voice is lagging.
1123 students should not be attending that class. Okay. Am I audible now? Ibrahim, am I audible now? Hello. Anyone can tell me if I'm audible or not?
सर आ रही है आपकी आवाज
Okay,
Yes,
good.
sir.
All right. Thank you. Ibrahim was saying I was not audible. Anyway, question
Yes,
2E.
sir.
Question
I can
2.
hear you now.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you. Question 2A is always the
No problem.
same, all right? And it will ask you about the feelings, all right? Identify one example of how writer uses language effectively to convey his feelings once he begins his double life in the extract from the text. Double life, right? So he says, so begin a period in which I lived a double life. Okay. By day, I followed Emma's instruction dutifully, and by night, I was kind of an alchemist. So there are multiple expressions that you can pick it from here, all right, and explain that how writers use a language to convey feelings. The kitchen, my laboratory, as
ये देखा
experimented
पूरा ये
widely.
कमरा मैंने क्या बनाया ना
I'm sorry,
ये
what is happening there?
ओ,
Ibrahim, is everything okay?
सर माइक खुला हुआ था वो
यस
किसी
सर
से बात कर रहा था
Okay, so all right, so began a period in which I lived a double life. By day, I followed Emma's instructions dutifully, and by night, I was kind of an alchemist. The kitchen, my laboratory, as I experimented wildly without method or purpose, trying increasingly outlandish and ridiculous combinations of flavors and ingredients. I froze soft cheeses, vegetable juices, even soups, hoping to chance on something, some method, some key, something that could unlock the deepest frozen secrets of ice cream. So, in this one, it's always recommended that you choose unusual expression, unusual feeling. Okay, so even I experimented wildly. This expression is very much, um, language use when he says wildly. When do people use, people go wild because of two reasons. Either they want to become over creative about something, or they are too much ambitious about something. So by now we can see that writer was very much ambitious to learn or experiment with ice and try to make something unique out of it. That's why he said I was kind of alchemist as well. So in the morning, he was following whatever Ahmed was telling him to do. So in the evening, kitchen became a laboratory where he was experimenting with things. Because once he asked his boss, his master Ahmed, that can we experiment with the recipes? He said, no, you cannot. You're a dumb creature. You cannot do it. Okay. And that actually motivated him to experiment with his routine. So this is a kind of interactive approach towards reading is required. Then you'll be able to understand and answer these questions. Okay, and that comes through practice, by the way. So now, example you'll write, and I always tell my students that when it comes to example, then only choose short phrases. Please do not choose longer chunks of the sentence, and do not quote with ellipses. Okay, so you choose only a short, phrase. He says, I experimented wildly. That's it. Or you can write the kitchen, my laboratory. This is also one example that you can put up here. Okay. Kitchen, my laboratory. All right. And as I experimented wildly. Now let's look at the response over here. So the writer felt free like an animal in the wild. He could do anything without being trapped to follow orders or being scared of getting scolded. He was open to all ideas and let his imaginations flow with no restrictions until he found the right combination. He felt like an unstoppable force. So this is the kind of explanation that you can give over here, that what does that one small phrase mean here, here, and how writers use language to convey the entire expression. Okay. See, one wild has the entire thing based upon. Okay. So if you had, for example, if you had selected, um, you know, the kitchen, my laboratory. All right. I was a kind of alchemist. Even if you have selected this example over here, I was kind of alchemist. All right. So, what would be your response in that case? How would you write the explanation for this text? For example, over here, I'll write it for you. The example that is being identified is I was a kind of alchemist. All right. Now, how would you write the explanation? Now keep this one example in your mind and please write down the explanation. I have already shared one example with you, one explanation to you. Now you have to write down one explanation there. You can share your response in the chat window. So people who usually say, "Oh, it's very difficult to get good marks in English," it's a matter of practice and it's a matter of understanding the technique to answer these questions. Okay, now this candidate got 8 out of 9, and in the first part, he got 15 out of 16. So, see, in 25 marks, he got 23. All right. And there wasn't a rocket science involved in it. It's about how are you understanding the text, how are you interacting with the text, and you're responding according to the question requirement. Now, coming back to the question. I have identified example for you. It says I was a kind of alchemist. Now write down the explanation in the chat window. I would like to give my vocal cords a bit rest. Response in the chat window, please. Anish is Noah nowadays. He's away from. He was not there in the academy the other day. Now, when it comes to assignment or any task that I give you, then all of you become quiet. There are only two people who are responding in the chat window. One is Anish and the other one is Hassan. And rest all are, patient listener because they're busy on watching reels. Okay, so where we are? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Okay. Ibrahim Nader, can you explain what I was talking about attempting question 1E? Ibrahim Nader. Oh, I wrote incorrect spelling of explanation though. Right. So I was kind of alchemist. Hassan, what is your response? How would you write the explanation for this one? Is Fatima here? Let me just check. Yes, Fatima. How would you write the explanation for this example? I was kind of alchemist.
Because he was testing out different combinations and ingredients, and he was talking about it like how chemists or alchemists talk about their experiments.
All right. Okay, good. And this is a 3-mark question, and you make sure you give three multiple reasons, all right, in order to explain that simple statement. Now we'll look at this one here. All right, it says the explanation demonstrates a clear understanding of the fact of the selected example. The response explored the association of the word wildly, the idea of being free, not having to follow orders, letting his imagination flow, and feeling like an unstoppable force. Now you can see one word has been referred to three different ideas: wildly, idea of being free, not having to follow orders, or letting his imagination flow. All right. And feeling like unstoppable force. So this is a very full response, and two of these effects have been sufficient for maximum marks. So you just need to write about two effects. What do they create to get the marks? Because 1 mark is for example, and two effects are okay. So now we look at this. Well, so like Fatma said, he felt like. Can you repeat it, Fatma? I'll type it for you. The writer felt. Yes, Fatma.
He was describing it like how chemists and alchemists make their experiments in labs and stuff.
Can experiment and explore various combinations in the lab by mixing and matching various components. Okay, now that's good. All right, that's the end of the class. Okay, so we need to say goodbye to each other. So tomorrow we have a 2-hour class from 10 till 12 in the morning, and it's online. All right. And so we'll join on Zoom. Okay, same link, and then there will be a break of 10 minutes in between the class. All right, where I'll give you a little break to think and go out for a walk and then come back for online class. It's very much important in an online class because if you are glued to screen for 2 consecutive hours, then you lose your concentration. Okay, so if you have any question before we say goodbye to each other, please ask. No questions? All right. Bye bye then. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz. There is a class for English language, Anish. Okay. On Sunday, I said I have an exclusive class for English as a first language student. Tomorrow is a class for everyone, but not for second language. Yes. It's only for English language 1123 and English as a first language 0500. Okay, but there's no English as a second language class 0510 tomorrow. Okay.